Oh, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are watching me from. How are you all doing today? Um, I had started a different stream, but today, in fact, I need to go back and delete it. But today looks like StreamYard has told me, no, no, no. So that's why we are back here with Restream. Thank goodness to multiple streaming sites. But this is my first time using StreamYard, so it's gonna be quite interesting. Quite interesting. So let me just wait and see how many people will join us in today's discussion. Whew, do I even know where to get the where to get the comments? Maybe if somebody can comment so that I can be able to see how the comments appear. Captions, QR code design. Yeah. Otherwise, how are you all doing today? I am good. My name is Gladys Mystery K, and as our topic of today is on evolution of failure of those off-plan projects, something that I've been talking about for the last couple of days, simply because it's something that I am going through, as you have seen in the past videos. And so it just made me want to just talk about it more. So, yeah, if you can comment and let me know where you are watching from so that I can maybe be prompted to see the comments. But in the meantime, I don't see any comments. Otherwise, thank you for coming and thank you for taking your time to watch the video. And as I have put in my description, the purpose of me doing these videos is not to talk down on any company or discredit any company, but it is for education purposes, for us to try and learn and see what we can do different as far as off-plan projects are concerned. So let's see. Oh, okay, maybe I need to do this. Let's see. I still don't see any comments. I see a few people watching. If you can put a comment, like the video, and maybe I can be able, because I like to have it interactive, because this is it's a stream. It's not supposed to be just a monologue. It's kind of you talking to me. So if you could leave a comment and let me, yeah, that would be great. But I still don't see any comments. Anyway, if you haven't watched the other videos, this is a series of different videos that I have been doing. This was triggered by the Nation newspaper, Kenya newspaper, about some land scams and how different people are coming and complaining and just being, there've been a lot of delays in projects. That is what has brought about even me to come and talk about this. It has been I've seen so many, it has been me now going back and just looking. I'm like, you know what? Let me go back and see what is it that people are, how did this happen? What's the genesis of, what is the beginning of all these off-plan projects? And I stumbled upon this comment that somebody had put on Facebook, and they were talking about, um, you can see that Mizizi Africa. So, and the interesting thing is, it's just like we have spoken before. Like it's just these different companies all intertwined and all coming up with the same thing. So Mizizi, this person had put that Mizizi, let me just read it to you guys. I just put a small um, excerpt, excerpt of whatever I found, but it was not even like I couldn't even put everything because it was a lot. I wish I could just be able to bring it here so you guys can see. But basically, they had put that real estate development Mizizi Africa Home Limited has conned billions from Kenyan investors through off-plan projects by promising better affordable houses, but only to provide few houses which are substandard and of low quality, while others collapse on the way with no sign of completion soon along Kenyatta Road, among other areas. The director behind Mizizi Africa Home, George Mburu Waiganjo, was once a senior accountant and manager of now defunct Banda Homes of the infamous owner Andrew Kamau. Kenyans have urged the detectives to unearth the conning games in off-plan projects and particularly of Mizizi Africa Homes, and should be held responsible for giving false information to the public, yet they don't deliver on the ground. So you see, this is even like I have never even heard about this company. Apparently, Mizizi Africa. So it just, it just makes me wonder, like, how many of such companies are out there? Like, already this is now Mizizi, and then you see how they're connecting it to Banda Homes. And for me, I've even seen so many, I think I don't even, I'm almost losing count of how many of such, companies and stories we are seeing of homes that just, this is how most homes end up looking like when people have finished paying for them. So it becomes honestly, to me, it's becoming very clear how there have been so many companies, so many companies. And as you can see on that post, there have been like multiple people coming out and just saying, yes, this scammed me, or yes, this happened to me, and yes, this and that. And while now I keep on finding so many other stories, and I keep wondering to myself, how did these things come to be? What is it that I think I've seen the earliest story I saw was like, I believe 2010. So from like 2010, there have been multiple companies that have come and multiple people complaining about off-plan projects in Kenya especially. While I will also bring, not today, but I will also bring again a different company that I have seen, but not in Kenya. I think I have seen in Nigeria and Ghana, where the companies that are doing the off-plan projects are now doing it like that is now how I believe should now be what many Kenyan companies adopt, where yes, it's off-plan, but you're coming in when already maybe like 10-15% of the project is already ongoing. So you're not coming in breaking ground. You're coming in when the project is already up and going, and they do it in such a way that it becomes very easy for even an investor to get attracted, because you're coming when the project is already, it's already up and going. And if you want, you can already get a project that is already almost in completion. So you can really, you're not coming in when, like I said, the one breaking ground. But the only thing is, the difference is that not only the investors are the ones doing it, but that company is partnering up with the government. So you see, for us, it would take that the Kenyan government wants to work with the developers so that the investors are now comfortable in doing the investment. But let me leave it at that for now. Just something to think about, that yes, off-plan projects can work, but not unless the government wants to work with the investors. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of such, results. Like you can see on the screen, that is the reality of most off-plan projects. Most projects just end up looking like that. You either have your home just started, and then when it gets to a certain level, the funds are depleted. So how comes we are getting to this point? How comes so many companies are getting to where you have projects starting and they're not continuing, So for me, I'm every time I come to think about it more, I'm like, you know what? I have seen stories, but I keep seeing like people bringing up stories and then there's no continuation. It just stays there, you know? And then I still end up finding more and more and more, complaints and stories. So this was also another one. Let me see if I can manage to play it from the beginning. And it's, guys, like if I am to bring numerous complaints and numerous, examples of what I am finding, it is so heartbreaking. Okay, so this was in regards to Banda Homes, and let's see the cards. Okay, so this was in regards to Banda Homes, and you can go. I think it was one of the stories that they had done at Citizen TV, and this person says, I think Banda are genuine business people. The only mistake they did was to underquote the project cost. Then during construction, they realized that hizo pesa hazitoshi. They realized that the money is not enough. Do you know how many times I have seen such comments where people are coming out to say that companies are underquoting projects? And you know why they do that? They underquote the project because they want to get the buyers. It's pretty much like a magnetic effect. The more they underquote projects, the more they find people to buy into them. What does that mean? Does that mean that most of these companies, their goal is just to get people to buy into the project, and their goal is not to complete the project? Could that be what it is? Because it's becoming very apparent to me that companies just want to look like they are credible. They attract you to come and buy into these off-plan projects, but their goal is not to finish. And this was 5 years ago. So this that I'm reading is 5 years ago. And then they're like, My advice to someone who wants to build a home, just buy land and look at architects or engineers who have built structures for you that has a high structural integrity. Most developers underquote to lure in people. Then they end up using cheap construction materials. Like in this Banda video, it becomes very painful that they have substandard and concrete beams that behave like that. So in the video, they were showing how somebody was touching a beam. Imagine the beam that is supposed to be holding the roofing. They were just touching it and it was crumpling, you know. So, and then like the one I'm putting on the screen was one comment where somebody was saying how the guy from Banda Homes was he was buying Mazdas and giving expensive parties where he'd spend millions in a night, all with customers' money. Imagine. He was not accountable to anyone and ran things himself. Everyone who worked there saw this day coming because all the money he used was not his. It was his client's money. How many times have we had these stories? So if you ask, what is the evolution? How is it that things are progressing to where now it's become very normal that a company can be accused of embezzling funds? This was Banda Homes. Banda Homes, remember, it was like was it 2014 to like 2018? Thereabout, you know? And this one was also saying I was also a victim. Let me see. I want to just make sure I stop to where I was also a victim in Dinara developing. Long story short, Dinara, Letters, Banda, and other companies, let me see, and other companies associated with this same guy, 2016, it never got completed. Like now, remember, we're in 2025. This is just the same thing. Like it's the same people with the same thing. And it's the same people, like I said in my previous video, like I think 4 days back. They just come and register a new company, market themselves with a different name, but it's the same players in the game. That now you find the same thing that Banda was doing is now many companies doing right now that are selling off-plan projects in Kenya. Same WhatsApp group. And for me, it's just gotten to a point where I'm wondering, I'm like, when will these stories end? Because it's becoming very frustrating. And especially now that I am among the people who this is happening to. When will these things end? Where you're seeing people misusing people's money. So I would say companies need to really develop a lot of integrity, honestly. Because if so much fraud is happening and like I don't know if I need to change my or I'm gonna just mess it up. It won't let me. I guess let me just let it stay the way it was. I wish it would let me. Oh, okay. The writings are so big, but I can just read them to you. According to according to what I'm trying to now, like, see and think about, I feel like developers' integrity and fraud is becoming a thing that I am seeing all the time. It's scams and fly by night developers. Some developers collect money and then they just disappear or fail to complete the project. That's become the norm. You have projects starting, and when you complain, or even if people take these cases to court, they just disappear and form other companies. What became of Banda Homes? Did people ever get their houses back? Or did the investors have to finish the projects themselves? And like the one I saw earlier, Mizizi, what happened to them? Like, it's just, they do these things and then they just disappear. There's a lot of misuse of funds. Buyers deposit money and then it's just diverted into, personal ventures. Companies just go about, using people's money rather than the money going to a specific reason why the development happened to begin with. The other reason why we have, in my opinion, the evolution of these failures is also because of the lack of regulations. We don't have any regulations when it comes to off-plan projects. If you look at, even when you're talking about the national construction authorities in Kenya, what exactly are they doing? Because they're the ones who are supposed to make sure that the projects are complete. Like I spoke 4 days back, or in my other video, you have permits. The permits are coming from these national construction authorities. And even when you have a complaint, you're coming back to them and being like, guys, my project, I remember even emailing them and attaching all the things that so far Certified Homes, the company that was working with me and so many others, but they did not deliver the project based even on the contract. But now if you have even the national construction authorities not working with the investors, so the question is, who is now the one supposed to make sure that these construction companies or real estate companies are really doing what they're supposed to do? So in my opinion, that's where we are falling short. And this is now how come things are where they are. And then we also have the Estate Agent Regulation Board. They often lack resources or willpower to enforce standards. And, whenever there is no law, things fall out of place. Yeah. The lack of law in Kenya is now what? The lack of, there is law, but regulations, regulatory bodies to make sure that companies are doing what they're supposed to do. So that lack of oversight is why we are where we are. And it's the evolution of the failures in off-plan projects. They don't have no escrow requirements. Like I said earlier, I think 4 days back. If you have no escrow requirement as a company, any real estate company should have an escrow account where you're coming in as a company to say that I'm going to build 120 homes, and you're showing your financial ability to really build those 120 homes. It wouldn't be where you're saying that you're building 120 homes, but there's no escrow account. You have no financial ability to really build that 120 homes. You cannot be relying on investors only. There should be a fallback plan. And that's where now, to me, I see that's part of where the problem is. No escrow requirements. So what happens? Developers hold buyers' funds directly instead of using independent escrow accounts, which is increase the risk of misuse. So why do you think companies are misusing clients' money? Because they don't have their own money. They're relying on investors to come in and be the one to now facilitate these real estate companies. That should really change in Kenya, honestly. If it doesn't change, things will continue going the way they've been going. You wonder why, for now, from like I said, 2010 or even earlier, off-plan projects just keep on mushrooming, and just like a mushroom, exactly like a mushroom has a limited amount of time to stay alive. After the season of mushroom ends, what happens? They die. So that's how the real estate companies in Kenya, and I bet even other African countries, is happening. And if honestly you're looking at now the real estate companies in Kenya continue like this, many diasporans are going to lose hope in even trying to, buy into this off-plan project. Most people are now thinking about just, being the ones doing their own constructions. We want, like I keep saying, we want to develop our country, but we cannot continue like this. We can't. If the trend continues like this, it will just be, it would be insanity. Remember how they defined insanity? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That it happened to Banda Homes, it happened to Certified Homes, it happened to Mahiga Homes, and now a different company comes in doing the same thing. That's insanity. We cannot be allowing, we cannot be doing that. So my suggestion would be, if you're in diaspora and you want to get into an off-plan project, make sure the company you are investing in has an escrow account, meaning they're working with the bank and they're financially showing that they are able to sustain the company. If not, run. Do not invest in them or do not invest with them. Okay? That's just my suggestion, because it's getting to a point where we just cannot continue like that. We cannot continue like that. This is an example of one of the stalled projects. This is Sukari Heights. And on the screen is Peter Nyaga of Certified Homes, the MD. Sukari Heights has been stalled for years now. I think they broke ground, was it in 2017? No. Was it prior to COVID? Maybe like 2020? I could be wrong, but around 2020. No, I think it was 2018. Are you guys commenting? I honestly can't see the charts. Yeah. If you're commenting, I cannot see the charts, but from around 2018 when they broke ground, and this is a good example of now what I was talking about, the lack of, the lack of the oversight into construction, or how the delays and the cost becoming overrun. Because explain to me how from like it's been now over 5-6 years of Sukari Heights still sitting, looking like a, just a pile of a 10-storied building. 10-storied building just seated and not complete. Simply because certified homes did not have an escrow account. They did not have money set aside that is specifically towards completing the project. Because you see, a project of such magnitude, if it's 10 stories, you can imagine how many units it is. And if a company is not able to have enough financial ability to finish, then that is why it is how it is, that it's just sitting and not complete. There has not been any major construction in that building for the better part of the year, or even from last year. Investors have been crying. And the one thing that just makes me wonder, we have never seen any real estate company like misusing investors and being taken to court or prison for that matter. What is it like? What, according to the regulation, what is it? What is the worst that can happen if a real estate company like Certified Homes, what's the worst that will happen to them? The worst that will happen is just them being put on the front of the newspaper like they did last week, Wednesday, newspaper, and then they come and try and explain their way out, and then they continue with life as normal, as usual. What is it that can happen to them? Nothing. What is it that can happen to Peter Nyaga after he's done this? So you see, the lack of regulations is now a good example as to why we are where we are. Because there have been other players in the game, but nothing has been done to them. So even now when Peter Nyaga comes into play with his company Certified Homes, he knows that there's nothing much that can be done to him. The company can fold, but what will happen after that? Nothing. Nothing. That is the reality of real estate. Look at how beautiful Sukari Heights would have been. Now it's just stalled, sitting there, and this is another project that I want to, like, according to the newspaper, remember, all this was triggered by the newspaper article. So this is one of the buildings or projects that is being done by Wilston Homes. Beautiful houses, beautiful mansionettes. And it was interesting to see their response. This is the response that I saw on a TikTok account of Wilston Homes. And in my opinion, it's a form of advertisement and whatnot, but at the same time, it is rude. It's very rude, in my opinion. Why? Because if an investor is seated somewhere crying about their investment, this is not what I would expect. So just watch and see.
Now here is what you won't see in the dailies. Wilston Homes has successfully handed over 18 completed projects in the last 7 years, ranging from bungalows to mansionettes.
That's over 600 housing units delivered to our satisfied homeowners.
If you watched the news 2 weeks ago, you probably saw the title handover ceremony for two of our.
Oh, did I cut that part out? So she said, you must have seen, I think I cut that part out. And then she crumbled the newspaper and trashed it in the bin. I looked and I'm just like, and then I saw this comment and I'm like, yeah. So a client who lost money through you is not supposed to complain since you have delivered over 1,000 units. Everyone matters. Acheni maneno mingi. Acheni maneno mingi to. So like stop a lot of talk and that's the thing. Like for Wilston Homes, I feel like yes, they've done a good job in delivering their projects. The problem is some people's projects have stalled, some people's projects have not been complete. Some people who want out in the project have not gotten their money back for months. And yes, I did see the response that Wilston did. I think it was through Damaris's YouTube page. But this is a good question. Yes, you guys have done some projects very well, many projects very well. But it is a matter of everybody is different. You cannot come to me and tell me, oh, but we've already delivered 1,000. We've delivered thousands of homes. Well and good. But that is not my home. If I was an investor in Wilston, that is not my home. I would expect that you're treating every client with dignity and respect. You won't come now and justify that I've done so much good. So it's okay to now do a little, like, that's kind of what they're saying, that, what, it's okay that you can maybe it's okay now to not complete a few or to delay a few projects because guess what? Hooray, you've delivered like 1,000. No, 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 no. No. If you're putting standards for delivery, it should be the same. And honoring your part. For most of these real estate companies, that's the trend I'm seeing, that they have the upper hand and the investors have a lower hand. That it's okay for them to delay the projects, but it's not okay for the clients to delay the money. And guess what the trend is? Most people look at how far the project is going. If they see there's any delay, there's delay in the money coming in. So even now for Wilston Home coming to say that, oh, you know what, we delivered 1,000 projects and now it's okay. No, it's not. It's not. And I was glad to see such a comment that someone is saying no. No, acheni maneno mingi means like stop with too many things, too many words. Like just, deliver the projects. If you're delivering all the projects, just deliver them. And then now, it brings into question, what about the people who want out? What is the out plan? Because I could want to start a project, but because of lack of that escrow account in most of these real estate companies, they don't have an out, a process where now you can get, because the reality is most people can start the project, but not everybody will finish. So what is the out plan? What is the plan where if Gladys is not able to finish paying for the project, then how are you going to buy Gladys out? It is stipulated, funny thing, it's stipulated in most of those agreements. But why is it that it's never met by the real estate company or the builders? That now it has to be the customers or the investors suffering. And that was the basis of even, Wilston Home coming into the article, that they have not been able to refund most of the people who went out. Yes, they've done well in maybe even accepting people to move into homes that they have not finished paying. But what about the ones who want out of the project? So you see why it's important for them to have an escrow account, because that would easily have been solved. That would not be a problem. It could have been solved easily, you know? And it's a mess, I tell you guys. It is a mess. But we will get there slowly, you know? We will get there slowly. I tell you. And most of these homes are so beautiful. If I can just pause in one of the developments they were doing, they are so beautiful for Wilston homes. Beautiful homes. Why can't it stop there? How did you stop where the homes are? Ah, you can just like see them in passing. Don't know why it can't let me pause there. Beautiful designs, different types of homes. They Wilston, honestly, I somehow empathize with them because they were not supposed to end up where they are. They were not. And people are saying it's damage control on their part as far as, coming out to what is tetea? Coming out to explain themselves. But yeah, you should treat every client differently. You should not look at it like, oh, I've done 1,000. No, 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 no. Every client, every investor, treat them like it's the only investor you have. Like that's what they say in business. You cannot say that I've been in business for so long. It will be one disgruntled investor that will cost you. So for Wilston Homes, treat every investor the same, equally. Don't look at it like I've been in business for so long, and then now things start falling apart. And the thing is, taking up too many projects could be what is making them unable to satisfy each and every client they have. Um, and then the other thing is the delay and cost. Okay, I said the delays and cost overrun, legal and land issues. Legal, was that the next thing? Delays, project delays. Oh, I think I repeated that. No, 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 no. That should be the other thing. Delays and cost overruns. Project delays due to poor planning, lack of financing, the financials like we spoke about, or dispute with contractors, is what is now costing most of these companies. Can you guys hear the music in the back? If you can, then I think I'd have to go and put it off. Give me a second. Zima mziki. What? The music is being heard in the live. Sorry about that. I don't want no copyright issues. Okay, where were we? So, like I said, Sorry about that. So the project delays due to poor planning, lack of financials, or disputes with contractors may project many projects are significantly delayed. Inflation and cost escalation in most of these companies talk about the rising of the material costs. How many times have we had that? Rising materials and labor costs mid project often lead developers to requesting more funds or abandon the project entirely. To me, when I was just I have been forced to go back and just look at what is it? What is it? What is this evolution? How come? What is going on? What is the reason? I'm the type of person to be fixated on issues and try to just see why are things happening the way they are. I kept asking myself that and finding so many projects. And guess what? They all have these symptoms. Just the delays. You wonder what the delay would be. This is why the delays are happening. Yeah. When you look at inflation, costs escalate, and how, inflation would not happen if projects were started and finished within the time frame of when the projects are happening. If the building period is what, 10 months, in exactly 10 months inflation would not hurt a project. But when a project is started and 5 years later, inflation would have already kicked in. If, like I showed you the example of that Sukari Heights, when they started that project 5-6 years ago, do you think the cost of materials is the same as now? No way. Materials are now more expensive. So now, even if they're to finish that building, it's now a matter of, oh my gosh, are they even able? Are they even going to be able to do it? Are they going to be able to do it? Is the question. The $1 million question. I don't think so. I personally do not think so. But hey, there's hope, right? It's always good to be hopeful, but the reality is I don't it would really be, I think it would take an act of God. It would take an act of God to be able to see that the projects are complete. What you see there on your screen, oh my gosh, like I tell you guys, I have seen so many stories of people complaining. This was back again to the Mizizi project, and the person who commented was the directors behind Mizizi Africa Home, George Mburu Wanjohi, was once a senior accountant and manager at now Banda Homes. This is how the projects were looking. Imagine. These were the part of the Mizizi Africa or Banda Homes. This is how the project was looking. And let me go back a little. And can you imagine if you're the one who was doing the investment and you come, a project looking like that? Guys, okay, I'm not laughing. I'm just sometimes it really gets to a point where you just lack words. It's just lack of words. Should I put it full screen so you guys can see? Look at that. That is the reality of most projects off-plan projects. You come and you've paid your money, and then you find a pile of dirt or incomplete incomplete buildings staring at you. That is the reality of most off-plan projects right now. You know, and when they talk about materials being substandard, it is where you're coming in and you find they want to cut corners, and instead of using the right mixtures of, like, the ratio of sand to cement to, the stone quality, it's not the same. They just want to hurry up and finish projects. Imagine, look at that. Guys, I just want you to, like, take a moment to just, like, look and be like, how is this possible? You come in and you find your project looking like that. Where do you even start? Where does one start? Most projects paid off, like I keep saying. The reality is that most of these projects are paid off. You find somebody has already finished paying for their project, and then they are told, oh, they start giving you stories. Oh, you know, um, inflation happened, and now you have to pay more money for us to finish your project. What do you do? What do you do, or who do you turn to? Who do you turn to? Huh? So as we continue, the reasons as to why off-plan projects are failing. In my opinion, these are the reasons. Legal and land issues. This is a big, big one. When you look at those legal and land issues, they are so massive, so many. Land ownership dispute. Some projects are launched on land with unclear or contested title deeds. Imagine, you come in and you find that the title for the company, the title for the land which your home is built on, there's a dispute. And you see, let me explain. When you're looking at off-plan projects, like you've seen, it's pretty much like estates. They build estates. So it's hard for you to come and ask the authenticity of an estate, because they will show you a title. Or if you go to your land's office, you find that, yes, your builder or the real estate company is the one that owns or have registered for that land. Now, remember, these are people who have a lot of influence. So it's easy for them to show you one thing, but the reality is another. On the first video I did on this series of all these off-plan projects and, land disputes and everything, you saw an example of, I think it was, there's a company, cement company, I think, is it Bamburi Cement Company, that owned the land. How a builder got to sell the land is still what the owners did not even understand. They came in and found they already had started. The project had already started. And I think I even showed you a video of one of the ladies crying. She had finished paying for the project, finished paying for her house, and they had already started building. The building was being demolished, and not one, not two, all the buildings were being demolished because the land was not owned by this company that was building. How they even like, that's why sometimes I look and I'm just like, if you're talking about due diligence, the land was not even being owned by that the builder. No, it was being owned by the government. You wonder, like, and now when you go back to those lands office when you're verifying, so unfortunately, this is an issue like in Kenya. I honestly don't know how we can circumnavigate that, because the same government that is regulating for the land is the same government that is now giving the permits for them to build. Like, my question is, and maybe it's my mind thinking about it because I've been in the US and my mind is thinking about it that way. But if I'm to even think about it in terms of having a corrupt system, it explains why. It's easy that the same government that is regulating for the land is also regulating for the building, but there's so many loopholes. Non-compliance with zoning and approvals. Developers sometimes proceeding without full approvals. Like, legal action, demolition threats. Not even demolition threats, demolitions happening. This is the reality of the off-plan projects right now in Kenya. Like, so when it comes to land, ownership and disputes, honestly, I would tell you people, the only thing you would do is, I don't know, maybe go back until you even find the real like initial owner. I don't know what the reality is on that. Asking the neighbors around if there's any. I don't know. Like, comment down below and let me know. How can we avoid the legal and land issues as far as buildings are concerned, How? Yeah. Let me know, please. Comment down below and let me know. Because this is like a real big one. A really big one. And it is sad. It is really sad because can you imagine? And this is now the other reality. The other reality is when you're building or when you have bought an off-plan project, but you find that it's a storied building. You've bought a unit, a flat. Remember the flats, you cannot have your individual title. It will be like pretty much like a certificate of ownership because the title for the land is on the land. So when you're buying, most like the ones who have the biggest problem is when you're getting an off-plan project of an apartment. Because now what happens after that? You're pretty much, if the building never ever started on its own, and even like when I go back to like that's Sukari Heights. When I go back to Sukari Heights by Certified Homes, it's in Sukari Heights in Nairobi. What I always wonder is, how will the individuals ever, an individual cannot finish an individual unit because you'd have to have water, electricity piped into the whole building. Yeah, that's a sad reality of plants, because now I've covered like off plans, like, when like those, homes. For us, it was individual homes. And I think I went extensively towards what happened and everything. So if you haven't watched, you can go back to the previous video and see. But my question is, when you're buying a unit that is in a storied building, then what? Yeah, then what? My other reason that I put up for lack or the evolution of failures in off plan projects is uh it's not putting the title, but pretty much it's lack of buyers due diligence. And this is also one that every time I put it up, I'm just like, I don't know, like, due diligence is one of the things in Kenya which is, in my opinion, overrated. When you talk about due diligence, there's so many loopholes in the system to really effectively make it possible for you to like even do your due diligence. Uniformed buyers, many buyers don't verify the developer's track record. And it's true, because for us, like I mentioned in the last live, yeah, we did not verify their track record. Financial stability or legal documentation before investing. Over reliance on marketing. Glossy brochures and billboards often sell a dream that isn't grounded in the developer's actual capacity. Guess what? That is exactly how these developers have mastered. Like, if you look at their brochures, if you look at even right now, when we finish this live stream, I want you to go and look at certified homes. The same building I showed you, Sukari Heights. If you go look at it, you'll be like, wow, Gladys is lying to us. Ain't no way this thing is not complete. And then they will pay pretty much like celebrities to market their product. And these celebrities, remember, don't own. And now the trend I have begun to see in Kenya is celebrities are given homes to live in and market them like they are the ones who've bought. And remember, their target clients are diasporans. Yeah. Glossy looking brochures. You go to any event, you're going to find glossy looking brochures with advertisements showing that these bungalows and mansionettes, and you just look and you already imagine yourself there. Imagine your kids running in the house. While in reality, they're just selling you a dream. The reality is they're just selling you, you know, a dream of you owning the what? Owning the homes. This was, I think, one of the houses that Banda Homes was doing. Or was it Mahiga? Because remember, these homes, they all somewhat look alike. They have beautiful, beautiful, oh my God, like beautiful homes. Yeah? The homes are beautiful. Like, truth be told, beautiful. Question is, for like the ones that were stalled for Banda or Mahiga, like I said, most of the investors were forced to finish the projects themselves. And I think the last reason I came up with, which is the seventh reason, if you're counting, you might know, is the market saturation or economic downturns. The downturns in economics are so many. Too many similar projects. Way too many. Like, honestly, if you look right now in Kenya, too many. Especially in areas like Nairobi, satellite towns, oversupply has caused prices, stagnation, and buyer pullback. Economic instability, rising interest rates, currently depreciation or job insecurity deters long-term commitments from buyers. So in my opinion, these are the 7 reasons as to why we have the evolution of failures in off-plan projects in Kenya. And if I can recap, the first one was developers' integrity and fraud. The second one, lack of regulation and oversight. The third one, delay and cost overruns. The fourth one, legal and land issues. Number 5, lack of buyer due diligence. Number 6, poor project. Did I say poor project management? I think I did not say that. Oh, my bad. This was poor project management. Number 6 is poor project management. Inadequate planning. Developers may start projects without securing full financial, proper architectural plans, or qualified contractors. Imagine. If the contractors are not qualified, like honestly, how would you expect that a project will be finished? Inadequate planning. Like the planning is just, it's like starting a project. You have 30, 40, 100 units, but you're doing it without adequate planning. Guess what? If you're building one house and you're having people manually do stuff, it's possible, but not when you're supposed to build 100 units. When you're scaling to 100 units, it means you cannot have like people literally like carrying the sand and transporting the stones. Like it's a huge project. It means then that you should be having equipment. You should be having like, the commercial mixers. You should be having the suppliers supplying the products directly from, the manufacturing into your project. Not that now you're having the foreman going to get the stones from wherever. Just lack of planning. That is how comes the off-plan projects are the way they are. Quality issues, finished units when delivered may be poorly built, far from what was promised, simply because of that. It these, in my opinion, are the reasons why, honestly. And like I said, the last one was the marketing structures and the market saturation or economic downturn. So, like I was recapping earlier, these, in my opinion, are the evolution of failures of off-plan projects in Kenya. What should be the solutions, you may ask? In my opinion, the solution should be introduction of mandatory escrow accounts for buyers' funds, stricter licensing and vetting of developers, strict vetting of developers. Like, honestly, I wish the government of Kenya would really, really make it so hard for these developers to like just open up companies. If they show financial inability, they should not be allowed to open companies. Legal reforms to protect off-plan buyers, including faster dispute resolution. That would really help a lot. If the legal reforms would be also in helping solve all these disputes, it would really save a lot of headache. Public awareness campaigns on due diligence. And you see, if honestly we don't like come together, and that's the reason why for me, like I have purposed myself to be a voice for many, is because of that. Like if I'm like in my research, I found from 2010, I'm like, this is 2025. Why is it that these are the same issues? Why? It shouldn't be that way. Public awareness campaign on due diligence would really help us a lot. Incentive for developers with a proven track record. Like it should be that. Those are the ones, the developers who are showing that they are doing a good job should be given an incentive to even like, be given more plans, to be given more business, that kind of thing. Not like I showed on my last live how these people like award themselves. No, it should be that the people who are showing a track record of doing what they were supposed to do are the ones who are being awarded. If honestly you're considering an off-plan project, an investment in Kenya, just make sure you do your due diligence. Engage a trusted lawyer, verify developer track records and their financials, demand for them to show you an escrow-based payment plan and a written guarantee that even if Gladys, you're not going to be able to finish paying for your unit, we are guaranteeing you that, you know what? The company is guaranteeing you that they'll be able to finish it. Because the trend has been going on for so long, like I said, for just way too long. And you see, if I can go back to like Mahiga Homes, guess what? The reasons that Mahiga Homes collapsed or was unable to finish, the projects they were doing, one of the biggest reasons was financial mismanagement and fraud activities, allegedly. Investors revealed that Mahiga Homes misappropriated client funds, diverting millions of shillings into personal accounts of the directors. For instance, one director allegedly transferred 28 million Kenya shillings from company accounts to a personal account. Imagine that, 28 million Kenya shillings. Just divide that by 130 and you'll get about the dollar amount that they transferred. And then after that, it was closed immediately. This financial misconduct contributed to the company's inability to complete the project and fulfill its obligation to the investors. That is why Mahiga Homes closed. It was just financial mismanagement. The other reason they said was unfulfilled promises and delayed in projects. Many investors, particularly those in the diaspora, were promised complete homes within a specific timeline. And then it just kept being delayed and prolonged. Some individuals reported paying 4.5 million for homes that were never completed. Their homes were looking like what you see on the screen there. And that is when somebody has paid 4.5 million Kenya shillings. Divide by 130, that's the dollar amount, leading to frustration and legal action. Additionally, several housing units lacked essential amenities such as water, electricity, and sewage system, rendering them uninhabitable. Because even if you have a unit complete like ours in certified homes, that's where we are. No amenities. Mahiga also, part of the reason why they folded was poor construction quality. Upon inspection, many of Mahiga Homes projects were found to be of substandard quality. Residents reported issues like incomplete sewer systems, inadequate interior finishes, and structural inconsistencies. These deficiencies not only affected the livability of the homes, but also led to health hazard for the occupants. Yeah. How can you stay in a home without a sewer system? It's impossible. Number 4 was legal and regulatory challenges. Mahiga Homes faced scrutiny from various regulatory bodies, including the KRA, which examined the company's financial records for potential tax evasion. Tax evasion. Furthermore, some of the land on which the projects were developed was reported to be public land. Public government land. Leading to dispute with local authorities and the risk of repossessions. Yep. Isn't that part of the issues we are talking about? Number 5, negative publicity and media scrutiny. The company reputation suffered due to negative media coverage highlighting its failure. In one instance, Mahiga Homes director attempted to suppress a critical article by Nation Media newspaper demanding an apology and threatening legal action. This attempt to control the narrative backfired and further damaged the company's public image. And you see, honestly, with that, it looks like negative public scrutiny, but at the same time, how many people were saved by the Nation Media coming out to say that Mahiga Homes was not delivering the project? Because like we've seen in most of what these companies do is they continue advertising and they continue selling themselves to other buyers. So, was it really negative publicity? In a way, yes, but at the same time, it did save somebody. And the 6th and final reason was management issue and leadership instability. Mahiga Homes experienced internal challenges, including leadership instability. The directors involved in political campaign diverted attention and resources away from the company's operations. Yeah, that's why they got into financial difficulties. This lack of focus and direction contributed to the company's eventual collapse. Yep, so why am I bringing this up? Because I just pointed out the reasons as to why off-plan projects, the evolution of the failure, and this is a classic example. these are among the reasons we already have spoken about. That now looking at Mahiga Homes, and that's why they collapsed. So Mahiga Homes' failure can be attributed to a combination of financial mismanagement, unfulfilled promises, poor construction quality, legal challenges, negative publicity, and leadership issues. These factors collectively led to the company's inability to deliver on its commitment, resulting in significant losses for the investors and a tarnished reputation in the Kenyan real estate market. Yep. So it's really a lot, honestly. It's really a lot to cover, but I think that was supposed to be my last thing, but I already mentioned it. The last bulletin point for the reason as to why the evolution of the failure. So we already have spoken about that. So it's, to me, one can just wonder why? Why, Gladys? Why? Why are you coming up right now to talk about all these things? For me, it's because, like I said, and I've been saying, it's because I feel like I need to bring more awareness. Because I feel like if I had had a lot about Mahiga Homes, I could not have made the investment. I could not. I could not. And like I have put on my caption, the reason for me doing these lives is not to tarnish any company, like I said in the beginning. The reason I'm doing this is not to bring down a company. But in my opinion, it's just to create more awareness so that people can know what is it that when people talk about due diligence, have you understood why companies have failed? And what is it that you can do to prevent yourself from getting into can I even call it I can't even call it a scam per se. No. How you can just prevent yourself from falling victim of these companies. Because the reality is that if you're not careful, you're going to find yourself there. So, as I wind up, I'm grateful for you guys watching. The conversation will continue. Why? Because the more we talk about it and the more we analyze the reason as to why off-plan projects are not working in Kenya, I feel like the more we'll come into a solution. But it will definitely, like we have looked, it will take the government working with the investors. The investors cannot be the ones to drive this issue. Because the reality is that, truth be told, these real estate companies have an upper hand. Yep. So yes, we want to develop our country. Yes, we want to have more people coming into off-plan projects, but we need a change into how the off-plan is being handled. So if you're just now starting to watch the video, please start watching it from the beginning. I cover so many reasons. I have done a lot of research into this topic especially, and it's becoming one that I'm really thinking about, simply because not only am I a victim, but you could be a victim too. And how and what is it that we can do to make things better? So let's keep the conversation going. And if you are a real estate agent or a real estate company that is marketing all these products, please, 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 guys, try and do better. And if you're an investor, my reason for doing this, like I said, and I'm going to say it again, is not to talk anybody out of not to invest. No, you do your investment, but please be smart about how you do it. Okay. So let's develop our countries. Let us, invest in real estate, but let's do it in a smart way. That has been my time. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment, and let's keep the conversation going. Okay. I will still come back. I think I did see a lot of or maybe let me see if I can just quickly read one comment. I saw a comment from, I think, the video that Wilston Home came and did. I think it's titled "One-on-One with Director of Wilston Homes After the Newspaper Scandal." That's the title of the video, and it's here on YouTube. It's Kenya Diaspora Media USA is the title for the name. And one of the comments, or a lot of the comments, were, of course, calling Wilston Homes to continue doing what they're doing. And so one of the comments, and that's why I want to read it, he said, "I remember Optiven saying he was conned 200 million, but for the sake of his vision, image, and the fear of God, he went to the bank and took a loan, and then he was able to refund people money, and then he was left to pay for the loan. Up to date, there's nobody who has ever come to say that Mr. Washira conned them." And that is for Optiven. So it looks like Optiven paid money, because remember, Optiven was one of the companies who people had also come up and talked about owing them. So that's what Optiven did. So now he's being told that, hey, that is also what Mr. Kinyanjui can do. Don't talk too much. Ask God for wisdom. He will make a way where there seems to be no way. And I like this comment because, remember, right now, Wilston Homes have been called out for not paying money to people who want to be out of the project. And he's saying he cannot give somebody money if the project is still standing like a shell. And he's being told, hey, don't talk about the project standing like a shell. Go ahead and pay people. Go ahead and pay. Even if it's to find a loan, go ahead and pay. And he said that people don't understand. I think in that interview he did, he says that he remember people saying that they don't understand how, the whole off-plan project works. But like we have covered, escrow account, that is where the escrow account comes in. That as a builder or a realtor, you have to have an escrow account for such incidentals. That it can't be that now companies are trying to say, oh, inflation happened and I'm not able. No, 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 no. It should be where now the escrow account is coming into play. And I think somebody else said, commented on the same and said the story of Optiven was different. He was land selling, but Wilson is a land and house where construction has already been done. Regardless, in my opinion, we have seen that real estate companies really need to take this seriously, where you're having an escrow account or you're having a bank funding into your project, where if a buyer is not able to finish paying for their unit, then you have a guarantor who's the bank who's guaranteeing that this project is going to be complete. And if Gladys is not able to finish paying for their unit, then the unit is complete. You simply refund Gladys their money back and sell the unit to a different buyer. It's that simple. It's time that off-plan projects don't depend on investors to be the ones financing the project, because we have seen time and time again, we can mention companies after companies where things don't work out simply because it goes back to finances. It goes back to finances. Let me see if I can find another comment. The way, and it's interesting, it's like a mix of reactions. When you look at the comments, it's a whole mix of reactions, where there's some people who are siding with Wilson Homes and there are some people who are calling them out. And like I have said, they have done a lot of beautiful projects, but it cannot be that the ones who are disgruntled are wrong. No, things cannot continue like that. And it's just not Wilson only, like I've said time and time again. It's not, then somebody else said the refund is not the same as the refund of a supermarket. Like, of course, the refund will not be the same. You're spending more money. We are talking of millions. This is millions. People are taking bank loans. People are taking money from their savings. People are relying on these homes as their retirement homes, So the refund should be taken seriously. Like, if you've invested your money and your unit is just sitting there, not complete, there should be a way out. Even if it's going to be less of however much somebody was supposed to, to be paid. And then someone else said, this business is not a joke. On the site, the money is being used on the materials with the builders and mafundi, the contractors, the excavators. So much work is done. To say that it's not easy to get the money back, but we still go back to the point of the escrow account. Because if you're starting a business, you should have an escrow where you're going to be, it's kind of like your safety net, Another one said, where they smoke, there's fire, penye moshi pana moto, that it can't be that people are now coming and calling out Wilson for no reason. And it's just not Wilson. Like, in my explaining this, is just many off-plan projects. But in this specific example, like I said, it is on that issue of the interview that they did. The fact that you can clear the air tells it all, but only few would understand about what Mr. Kinyanjui is saying. But the funny thing is, I feel like most of the people who are commenting are not even the investors. If it's a disgruntled investor, they would not be putting such comments, Yes, I like this one too. He says, I think it is wise to bring the complainants to the same show that advertised the homes. They bought they bought so that we can hear what happened or what is happening. In the contract, was it stated that if you ask for a refund, the builder will deduct certain money for breach of contract or vice versa? Will they deduct something for breach of contract? And remember, the breach of contract only, as I have always said, it is to the builder, but not you, the investor. Yeah? Because if you don't finish paying if you don't finish paying for a unit, the investor can even come in and sell it to somebody else and say that they're selling it so that they can offset the cost. And like we have said, because of the lack of the building regulations, it's now coming to favor the builders. And then there was somebody else who commented, the main risk is a liquidity crunch. Is there an anchor investor in each project? The anchor investor would refund the cash for client. And now you look at the anchor investor, like this person is saying, is now the bank. Is there one? The anchor investor would refund the cash to the client who withdrew their commitment prematurely. Was there one? Not Glad is saying, these are comments if you go on that post and see. And somebody commented precisely, cash incentive industry need heavy backing from bank or investor. You cannot rely on selling off plan to raise construction funds. You see? You cannot. But many off-plan projects in Kenya, that is what they do. They don't have a backing of somebody who is now, pretty much like the cash cow. No, they don't have backing of the bank. No. And that's why they're now in trouble. And remember, Wilston has, look at even like the house I've put there. Like, oh my gosh. These are like, I think they were selling them for like, what did I see advertised for like 18, was it like 16 to 18 million? Because they're like 4 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms, mansionettes. They're beautiful. Beautiful. Storied homes. Very beautiful. But it's costly. So if now somebody comes out and remember, they're not doing one, they're not doing two. These people were doing like 50 to 100 units. It's a lot of money they're working with. So you would expect that they now have a lot of, the financial backing. They have a lot of, liquidity crunch, like this person put it. Do they have liquidity crunch? And somebody else said, at least the newspaper initiated the conversation. And that is what, like, for me, I said on my first video, I was triggered simply because this is something that has been going on for so long. What else? Okay, of course, so many people say they're investors. They've done 3 homes. They have tenants in their homes. They have, and then another one said, Kinyanjui sounds very evasive, not answering questions directly as asked. Why would a project take 3 years without even taking off? 3. 1, 2, 3 years. You start a project, the contract says, most of those contracts are like, you pay the down payment and then you pay a certain amount. And most of the contracts I've seen, they talk about like 12 months or 14 months and it's complete. So you wonder, a project is taking 3 years. Why would a project take 3 years to be complete? And the many reasons they've given, they've said, I think I've seen reasons like, oh, I think one of them was one of the places they were building, the land was caving in, and then they had to come back again and do, try and work on something or transfer. They couldn't build there because it was like sinking land. They had to transfer to a different place. That's understandable. But it wouldn't take 3 years, 3 years. What I have seen, honestly, most of these projects, truth be told, is project A is funding project B, project B is funding project C and D as far as acquiring the land. And then when you now go back to project A, is dependent on selling project B for project A to be complete, and vice versa, because they don't have financial backup, bank involvement, escrow accounts. Yeah. I don't think I want to read that one. I don't want any attack messages. For me, my purpose, like I said on my description, is for educative reasons, I don't want to come out like I'm attacking anybody. Yeah, so there are so many comments down there. And truth be told, most of these companies, they have done a lot of good, but it's time we try and learn what is going on. Yeah. And as I finish, let me just recap. I think one of the comments I had seen from 5 years ago for, I think it was either Banda or Mahiga. It's no lie. The guy mismanaged clients' funds. Ask anyone who used to work there. He used to buy brand new cars, costing millions. Buy his many girlfriend, most of them staff, Mazda Demon, and giving them thousands of shillings, throwing extremely expensive parties where he'd spend millions in a night, all with customers' money. He was not accountable to anyone and ran things himself. Everyone who worked there saw this day coming because all the money he used was not his, it was clients' money. I think that was in regards to, if I remember correctly, it was for Banda homes. And who's to tell? Maybe most of these people, that's what they do. When you're looking at this, is most of the investors are abroad who do investments with these companies. So it's a lot of money coming in. And if they don't have the financial, they don't have that financial, they're not financially astute, or they have a lot of discipline when it comes to money, it's very easy to mismanage it. Can you imagine how much was coming into these accounts on a weekly basis? The different companies we've looked at, a lot of money. So for me, I think it just got to a point where I'm just looking at these real estate companies, and every time I read comments or stories, it just gets me to be sad. Sad that the same is happening right now. You would think it would stop with Banda or Mahiga, but now here we are. The signs are already showing for Wilston. The signs have already shown for certified homes. And like on the newspaper article that probed all this, Mahiga, you know, it is it is so sad. And yeah, the government really needs to come in and help us. For some reason, I still cannot be able to see the chats. I'm sorry if you have. Oh, chats. Have you guys been chatting with me? Did I not? Did I not put the chats up on time? I don't even think they can now come up. But now I know where to click when I'm almost finishing. Goodness, I've been talking for almost 2 hours, 1 hour, 45 minutes. Yeah, that's just how much. Like, honestly, that is how much. Like, this thing is like, you know, like it's really getting me going because you know how they say a shoe only pains you when you're putting it on and you feel the pain, the pinch. I'm feeling the pinch of certified homes. And now, when I even go back, and I think I even put a post on my Facebook page saying that I haven't seen too many people coming up and talking. Most of the talk I've seen is on the real estate companies being the ones coming to, explain themselves, but not somebody like me coming out and just telling people, hey, yes, this is happening to me. Hence, me doing this. Honestly, I wish I did it the same way last year. And that's why I'm doing it like that, like in a more educative manner with more, a level headed and not coming out like, I'm attacking anyone. And I think on most of the videos I've done for even like certified homes and Peter Nyaga, my point of doing all this has never been to, look down on his company, but just to point out that, hey, we need to do something better. So with that, let me stop here today. Please comment down below and let me know what is it that we can do different and how else can we, improve the off-plan projects that we're doing, because honestly, they are more affordable and it makes more sense because instead of buying a complete unit for almost 4 times the price of an off-plan project, it makes sense. And we would really want to continue. I personally, like I said, I'd want to continue and we'll still do another off-plan project, but now do it in a more smart way, in a more, in a way to protect myself. And I hope you would do the same. So let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Asante, asante sana. Muchos gracias. I wish I could talk in more languages and learn more. But yeah, that is all from me today. Thank you, asante. And until the next one, kwaheri, ciao, bye. I don't think I have my outro today, but yeah, thank you so much for watching. And with that, yeah, that's it for me today. I've been going for quite a while. But yeah, let's keep the conversations going. Bye.